Good morning and welcome once again to the 102nd of our 365 Bible studies. At the moment we're looking at the early monarchy in Israel from the time of Saul to the time of Solomon. And at the moment we're looking at the disputed succession after King David. And we're looking at the first book of Kings, chapter 1, verses 5 to 8. Now that Absalom was dead, it was Adonijah, the son David had with Haggith, who was his eldest surviving male successor. He was good-looking, and David had never had to tell him off. He really wanted the monarchy, so he gathered war chariots and horses and an escort of 50 soldiers, and he sought and gained the support of Joab, whose mother was Zeruiah, and also of the priest Abiathar. He failed to get the support of the priest Zadok, Benaiah, Jehoiada's son, the prophet Nathan, Shimei, Rei, and David's household guards. David had now become ineffective because of his old age and his infirmity. His potential successors were weighing up the odds, preparing for a disputed succession and gathering supporters. To bolster his campaign, Absalom invited all his brothers except Solomon to a feast, a communion sacrifice that would look to us like an open-air barbecue. David had long promised Bathsheba that her son Solomon would succeed him and had sworn an oath to that effect. News was soon brought to David about what Absalom was doing, and he called Bathsheba, along with Zadok the priest and Nathan the prophet, and gave orders for the priest and the prophet to anoint and proclaim Solomon king at the gathering place by Gihon Spring. This took place in public, to much loud celebration. Adonijah and his supporters were not far away, and they heard the noise. Soon, the news of Solomon's accession was brought to them, and Absalom's supporters began to desert him right away. Absalom was afraid of what might happen next, and immediately went to the tent of meeting where the ark was, and clung to the corners of the altar there for protection. He soon swore loyalty to Solomon, and was allowed to come out of the meeting tent unscathed. The whole story is there for you to read in the first chapter of the first book of Kings. Sadly, after David's inevitable death, Adonijah again pushed his luck too far by asking Bathsheba to ask her son Solomon to arrange a marriage with someone who would help him in a possible palace coup. His treason this time did lead to his execution, and that was the end of the power struggle for the time being. The ancient editors of these stories make their point to us down the ages that God's will and human traditions and customs do not always coincide. We should ask ourselves, as Jesus asked the scribes and Pharisees, how many of our cherished doctrines, rites, and customs are of human origin. A deep and close relationship of Scripture with a critical and inquiring mind will help us to do this. Scripture likes being read and argued over. There are lessons for us in these ancient stories. Tomorrow, we see Solomon asking God for the gift of wisdom, and God answers him with great generosity. I'll see you tomorrow.